Welcome back to Hypothetically Sports. I'm Alexander. I'm with,
Randy Sr.
And Randy Jr.
and it's week 2 of college, and it's opening weekend for football. So before we get into professionals, let's have a recap of last week. College games, right? Uh, some major games, some major things happen. Penn State beat Wisconsin.
Told you.
Michigan. What'd you say? You
Told
did
you.
say you did call it. Michigan State beat Northwestern.
Told you.
Wow.
Yeah. He did. Virginia Tech upsetted North Carolina, and that's their
Oh,
first home win versus the AP top 10 opponent since 2009.
I watched some of that game. North Carolina actually looked horrible.
I didn't
I'm
think
not
they
even
were
sure
good.
how they got raked.
Because they got ranked because of Sam Howell. Thought he was going to top tier quarterback, and it definitely wasn't that this week.
Oh, oh.
Um, Georgia beat Clemson 10-3.
That was a defensive matchup that my boy, the quarterback for Clemson, he looked like a freshman. They did a really great job of mixing up the defense, and you got to give Georgia credit. Their offense, didn't do much either, though. Georgia's didn't. So we'll see what happens, going forward. But I got my hats off to Georgia for coming up big in that game.
No, it was definitely a big game by Georgia. Clemson, I thought they had the Alabama mode down where they don't rebuild, they just reload, and that I don't think that's the case with Clemson, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah.
it's Alabama's a top league of their own. They're the only team in college football that just reloads every year and is dominant. So them and then everybody else. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the year plays out.
All
For
right,
sure.
and then unranked UCLA beat number 16 LSU.
Ooh, that was a whooping. I am telling you, folks, if you have not checked out UCLA, you want to see a good football team right now, you got to check that team out. They're burning on all cylinders right now.
No, I think it's gonna be a good year for a bunch of ranked teams. I think teams are closer together this year since COVID happened than ever before. You have a lot of upperclassmen that could return with freshmen, so you got a lot of players who practice a lot in the off season and got a lot more play time because of COVID last year. So you're gonna have a lot more experience that are making runs that you're not expecting to. CLA was one of the teams I was not expecting to put in work. Fun watching.
So they definitely put in some work. But speaking of a team that you thought put in work but didn't get paid off, I'm sorry I had to bring up my Gophers. Because they put in the work. They really did. To be honest with you, that game, you take away that one defensive lapse, um, and I don't mean it against the Gophers' defensive lap, is they let the defensive lineman get in on the quarterback, which was really the quarterback's fault. He should have thrown the football before he got hit. And the fact that all of a sudden the yellow things that come out to let you know there's a penalty got stuck every time an Ohio State player did something. I'm not sure what happened there. The Big Ten did acknowledge that they missed some calls. Come on now,
I know
that
it.
would have been that game should have been a lot closer, and the Gophers should have had a better chance. And then they lost Mo though. That hurt.
Yeah, I think the momentum shifted in the third quarter. Right after Mo went down. As much as I like the backfield that we have with Trey Potts, Cam Wiley, uh, they're not the same backs as Mo or Rodney or any of the backs we've had in the past. They are outside running backs who need the ball in space, and so it's going to be interesting to see how the Gophers respond. We're not going to see anything new this week from the Gophers. They're still going to be running up the middle, quick passes, things that we saw against Ohio State. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Probably Colorado will be the first test of them having to actually do a new game plan. But yeah, the strip sack in the third quarter or at the end of the third quarter, where Ohio State put up 21 points in the third quarter, that's where everything went off the rails. Uh,
Yep.
you lose your star player. You unfortunately, as much talent as they had, you didn't have your number one receiver either. You gave up one bad defensive line play. Offensive line I thought was very dominant during the whole game. Center was great. Falele was great. Everybody was great. And it was one play where both the running back and the left tackle missed the D end. He just sped rushed around both of them, and he got the strip sack, and they were bring it in. And after that, it kind of took the sell out of the defense because it's just hard when you're put right back on the field and going up against two amazing receivers who caught the ball in an open field and you weren't catching them.
That's true.
I'm
There's a difference in
sure.
the game.
I'm sure Ohio's duo will probably give other people trouble as well throughout the year.
Yeah, for the most part, I thought they did a decent job of honing them in the first half and like giving up a couple decent chunk plays, but nothing. And like I said, they ran out of gas at the end, and that it's kind of expected from a young secondary that doesn't have a star to kind of lean on that they're used to.
Yep.
That defense has always had a star player somewhere that picks up when something goes awry, and we don't have that yet. And so someone needs to step up and fill that position.
Yep. That's that growing pain that happens when you started with a young defensive backfield. But let's be honest, though. Now I can say this after watching them. I would be disappointed. That's something you don't actually hear from a Minnesota Gopher fan. I would be disappointed if they don't get 9 wins. And I'm telling you, that team's good enough to win at least 9 of the games left on their schedule.
Oh yeah, I don't see, like, with how they played against a very great Ohio State team that I think are going to blow out some people the rest of the year. There is zero reason that I can come up with that they are not a one-loss team when it comes to playing Iowa and Wisconsin at the end of the year. Iowa's the first next big competition is Iowa, and then they have Wisconsin after that, who are, by the looks of it, just as bad offensively as the Gophers without Mo and their top receiver. And they don't have an excuse. They have a 4-star or 5-star quarterback who was an elite 11 player, just not developing at all.
Yeah. I think you're right there. I think that that the 2 games that will be the toughest games so far. We would have said Ohio State and Wisconsin, but right now it's going to be Ohio State and Iowa. Iowa looked their old self. They looked more in control than I thought they would. They looked just, but then again, Indiana looked horrible, and they misspelled the name on their jersey.
Yeah.
Come on, people. What is we only have to get an ACT score of what 1.2 to go to Indiana? As long as you can't spell it, then you can go there. What the hell?
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, you'll look back at the Gophers Ohio State game, and you look at the stats, and CJ Stroud had 4 touchdown passes, which I think is an exaggeration of his level of skill during that game. He got the ball, don't get me wrong, he had the ball where he needed to be on those 4 touchdown passes, but consistently during the game, he was overthrowing a bunch of people. He panicked in the backfield with very minimal pressure at him. Yep. He's going to be great. He's going to be a good Ohio State quarterback, just like Justin Fields and everybody before him. But he's not who won the game. His our defensive lapses and his skill position players won him the game. Which did you want? But like you look at the stats and 4 touchdowns, 270 yards. Like those are all after the catch yards by Chris Agave and Olave. Is it Olave? Olav or whatever the second receiver is.
You got it. Yeah, that's right.
It was by them and missed tackles and bad execution on defensive plays. Not taking away from anything he did, but he still has a lot to prove to be in the Heisman talk. I don't understand why he was in the Heisman talk so early as a freshman, redshirt freshman, but I'm excited to see what he does for the rest of the season.
Well, you know what they say. The first game is always the hardest. The question is now, if you want to find out if he's a true, athlete at a true high elite caliber, is what it's going to do in his next big game, which we ain't got to work that long for because we're playing Oregon.
Yeah,
so we'll see. We'll see.
Some other positives to come out of the Gopher game is that they did play in a sold out stadium, so the support's there for them.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure.
Dylan Wright coming out and holding his own with 5 receptions, 57 yards, and a touchdown.
He looked good. He looked good.
Yeah, he looked
No
like
doubt.
a 4-star receiver from the SEC. So that's what you wanted to get when you brought him in as a transfer.
You know what they say about PJ Fleck, and unfortunately, there's some people might argue this, but if you're a wide receiver, seriously, you want to get a shot at getting it going in the first round, come see PJ. He done did it more than once now. So Corey Davis, Rashad Bateman, Tyler Johnson should have been a higher pick than he was. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And they all had the same receivers coach, the same head coach teaching them how to catch that football. PJ knows how to do that. He knows how to teach you how to be a receiver. No doubt. That's why they just signed that 4-star receiver just the other day. Because hey, money you want to get to the big leagues. You wide receiver, come to money you. We got you covered.
No, and I think him signing the 4-star receiver is a sign. Like people, especially some news outlets in Minnesota, are questioning PJ Fleck and other things about the coaching staff and how they treat their players. But you don't sign. You have Michael Steffens Brown, and he's been here for 2 years, and then you go and sign his brother for the 2023 class or 2022 class, one of the two. I think it's the 2023 class. So you're signing his brother 2 years out. So obviously, PJ Fleck's doing something right with his current players if, you're going to bring in family. And you can't say, oh, family always goes to each other. You can look at the Gophers basketball team. We signed one of the Ellison brothers hoping to sign the more prolific 5-star one, and he went to Marquette.
Hey.
And he could have went here if, he had a good relationship, if Henry Ellison had a good relationship with Tino at the time, but he didn't.
Right.
Didn't know how to develop players, so why would he? Yeah, come here. You'll definitely be developed here. They obviously wanted to play together because he went debating transferring to Marquette to play.
Right. And let's be honest. Let's close the loop on that conversation about how PJ's team, how they affect other people, as in coaching and how they treat the kids. Bottom line is that you look at every major program that plays at a high level, they push the kids from the beginning to the end. And there are athletes in every team that end up not even making it to the field because they physically break down before they get there. And the reality is that PJ is, and I give him credit for this, is raising that level, and he's asking them to perform at higher levels. And that's part of the attrition. It's what happens. So people calm down, relax. He ain't doing anything wrong. He's just trying to build a program. And unfortunately, every program you build, not every block is going to be the strong one. And you will get chips and breaks. That's the way it works.
Very true. Very true. On Saturday, the Gophers are playing Miami, Ohio. Hopefully an easy game.
This game is going to be a little closer than you think, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I think that PJ and the offensive side of the ball is going to want to get a lot of touches for his different running backs. Like Randy said, now he's got to feed him a little bit to find out what they're going to give him, so he knows what the rotation is going to be. I mean, he had his rotation set before, but now, you got to dig a little deeper. And I think they're going to do a little work on that in the defensive backfield, and maybe we might even see a new starter or two. Again, things that they need to fix while they have an opportunity to fix it. They should win this game probably about 31 to 14. But it could be closer, but they're going to win the game.
Yeah, they're just definitely going to win. I don't see how they could lose going vanilla. Like I said, I don't think they're going to show anything. They're going to want to keep it vanilla while they can against opponents that they can go all game. You'll see some passes. Dylan Wright to get his touchdown probably. Maybe a special team play. Which, speaking of special teams, I just want to hit that real quick. Such a great thing watching the Gophers football and not worrying about the special team. I wasn't worried about the kicker. I wasn't worried about the punter, the return teams, or the cover team. Everybody did their job, and it made me really happy. It's something that hasn't been a blessing in Minnesota sports for a while. So that was good. But yeah, it's going to be very bland, and it's going to be a lot of running, seeing what Trey Potts does, what Cam Wiley does, what Williamson does, what Kai Thomas can do. We're going to see probably a couple freshmen getting some touches, is what they have. That's what you have to do. Like, you know what they can do in camp. You know where they're benefit at. They need to find their inside rusher. I don't know who it's going to be. None of the players are really inside types or more of space rushers, so it's going to be interesting.
All right. So that's it about Gophers. I think we covered a lot. Some issues, some good things.
Yeah.
Let's move on to professionals. Let's talk about the Vikings. First of all, you guys excited for the NFL season?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, I got my new lid and everything. Go Vikes!
If they start losing, are you burning it?
Oh no.
Okay.
I'm not a fair weather fan. I'm there to the end.
I meant like as a bad luck charm.
Oh no! Come on, this lid is tight. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it don't matter how tight it is if it's a bad luck charm.
Ooh, well, then they better get better then.
I'm sure they've been trying. During the preseason, obviously they played most of their secondary, but they ended up losing every preseason game. Actually, in the NFC, the Lions and Packers also lost every preseason game. The Bears were the only ones to have any wins. I think they won all three. But knowing that it's the secondary stuff and that their schedule is going to be like difficult, they do have a difficult schedule this year. How do you feel? Like, are you worried at all, or?
When you talk about the Vikings this year, you know that they've gotten healthy, so they should be able to play up to a Viking standard. The question is going to be when they start getting injuries. Every team has them. I'm not seeing much depth on this team. That's what worries me more than anything. Anthony Barr can't stay healthy the whole season. Eric Kendrick, we can go down the list. You know what I'm saying? Cook's been hurt on and off. All these guys get hurt, and the people backing them up, have to be able to come in and play at a high level. And right now, the linebackers are not very good to me. They're still out there looking, trying to figure out some folks to come in. The defensive line is probably the strongest suit of the team right now. Offensive line, they got that rookie back finally from that groin injury that he had surgery for, so that'll help. But I think it's going to come down to depth. If they can stay healthy, and when they do need to have someone step in, that they can step in at a high level, keep the engine going. I truly believe they could be 11-6, 12-5.
Speaking of injuries, Irv Smith Jr. is out for the season, and we picked up Chris Herndon to replace him. Do you think he's gonna step up and help us out?
Yeah, he has no choice. I don't know if he's going to get the start in the first week.
He's not.
He will.
He's third on the roster.
He's third,
but he will get out there because he's got the best hands of all the tight ends that they got. I mean, let's be honest. This team uses a tight end, a lot of curls, a lot of slant routes. A lot of in cuts with the tight ends to keep you honest, to open up the field for Jefferson and Thielen. And if you don't have that threat of a tight end that can catch and make the safety play inside, then it becomes harder for Thielen and Jefferson to get free. Everything is built on something else. It's those different layers, and if you're missing one of the layers that allow, the freedom of movement in the other layers, then you pay the price for that. You always got to have that threat. So that's the reason why I think he may be listed as third, but he may end up seeing more balls thrown his way, getting more time than the other two.
Yeah, I agree. I think the season is really going to come down, like you said, depth, but I think it comes down more so to offense and defensive line play, just like the Gophers. Our offensive line is still shaky. I don't think they did anything really to make it better. Their first round pick has been hurt. He just practiced fully today for the first time. Our defensive line literally had second tier players all last year. Like people who aren't on the team that played for us last year, second or third string practice squad on some other squads. So we finally got our defensive line back. Michael Pierce, Thompson Jr., Hunter, Everson. We have a solid defensive line now, so that's good. And then
Did you say Emerson?
Huh? Yeah.
Did you say Emerson? Yeah, boy, Emerson. Yeah, that's my boy right there.
I would like to inform you you're having technical issues and your mic didn't pick that up. So what did you say?
Me?
No, Randy.
Oh yeah, Randy, we didn't catch you.
I said Everson. M.
Everson, Emerson. It doesn't.
Yeah,
97.
boy.
Daddy.
boy.
Sack Daddy, 97. Next week, if he gets a sack, none of the jerseys, baby boy, putting them on. Anyway, go ahead.
No, and then obviously the biggest question mark outside of linebackers, who I think will benefit from a good defensive line play, is a bunch of older corners leading the team now.
Mature. We like to use the word mature, Rand.
Like Patrick Pearson, don't get me wrong, he's a great player, but he's at the end of his career. Breland, Cam Dexler, I can't think of his last name. Our rookie from last year, our first round pick, is fifth on the cornerback depth chart. That's not a good sign for your former number one pick. So it's going to be interesting to see how this defense plays out. It's his bread and butter. He's a winning coach. Worst season with us, Zimmer has been 7-9. Can't ask for much. Like you can ask for much more. Super Bowls, obviously, or playoffs, obviously, but in a general sense, he's doing enough to get us where we want to be. It's about players execute what I think is clearly most of his game plans work. About execution and having the people there, and I think that's the biggest issue is this roster's not put together very well. You're paying too much for a quarterback. Like people say, "Oh, you could do blah blah blah." No, you're paying too much for a quarterback that's not elite. He's not a top 5 quarterback. Be making top 5 money.
I agree.
He hasn't led anybody anywhere ever.
Well,
I hard agree on that one.
Personally, I would agree that I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback. Statistically, he is. Just wanted to remind you of that. We didn't say what we want about him.
Sports are like really weird because you can have the stats, right? Like on paper, you can be great, but if it's not doing anything for you, it doesn't matter.
Well, of course, but I just want to say, is when it comes down to the negotiations and how people get paid, especially in the NFL, number one is winning. We all know that, right? Number 2 is your stats. Let's not get that confused. Whether people like him or not, it's a whole different story. Whether or not, his personal views get in the way of this team winning a championship, that's a whole different story. But the reality is that on paper, statistically, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, does he play like that? Do we feel that on Sundays? No, we don't. And a lot of people say his numbers were built on games against teams that, didn't really care, and we were out of it by that time anyway. So, you got to take all those things into consideration. I'm just saying, he is overrated, though.
Speaking of these, obviously would be amiss not bringing it up. The vaccination issues that the Vikings are facing, being the least vaccinated team in the NFL, Cowboy players sitting out, because they're not vaccinated, this week. The Vikings hosted, I don't know how to pronounce this, epidemiologist. They brought in a professional as a guest speaker in hopes to increase those rates this summer. Michigan Hospital ended relationships with Kirk Cousins over it. The Vikings even offered free tickets to the Packer game in November to try to encourage vaccination for fans and whatnot. How do you think we overcome this or convince Kirk or anyone else to get the vaccination?
You know, I'm. This is just my personal view on this. There is so much disinformation out there that when there is real information, it's hard to pull out the real versus what people are making up. Like saying like that dewormer, has this, this chemical in it you should use, and people don't realize you can't use the stuff for animals. That's why people are dying. Hello. Um, but the bottom line goes to this: everybody has to make their personal choice, and I understand that. But personal choice can lead to other people's deaths. And at that point, your choice, you try to live your life like nothing is wrong, I mean, is morally wrong because you are now affecting more than just yourself. If your choice was just to affect yourself, do what you want, how you want, and when you want. When your choice not only affects your family, your children, the people around you, people that you don't really know that you would walk by, you cough and you walk by, and if you're a carrier, you may have gotten someone sick. You now just gave that person a possible death sentence because you chose not to get vaccinated. That's the bottom line truth for me is there's times when you gotta stop thinking about yourself and thinking about the community and people as a whole. Plain and simple.
It comes down to it. Nothing's going to change. Any of the players, Thielens, Harrison Smith, uh, Kirk Cousins, they're not going to get vaccinated. They'll risk it. They'll probably get out for a game, maybe two this season. It comes down to it. If the last year and a half, what they have to go through, vaccinated players have to go in like 5 hours early, get tested. They get tested like 3 times a day. Uh, they have to do all this extra stuff that that people who are vaccinated don't. And so if doing all this stuff that ruins, like they've said multiple times, ruins their day, like it makes their day so much longer. If that's not enough to change their mind, like you're not going to unless you make it a mandate, which they have the right to. You're a business, you can mandate what you want your players to do, especially a business that relies on humans interacting with other humans in such close quarters. Uh, I would be okay with the mandate, but they're adults; they can make their own choices. Um, as much as I personally believe everybody should be vaccinated, just to get it under control, like the flu, you're gonna have to get vaccinated every year. Sucks to suck. Uh, it's just people aren't gonna do it. People don't get the flu shots now, as it is. Don't get certain things as it is. So choice. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a detriment to the team, and he's going to have to look it in the mirror and say, "Yep, I cost my team game, this win, this loss, because I was unwilling to take a shot, stop me from getting sick because for whatever his reason is."
Well, I just hope that that's the only thing he has to look in the mirror and say it cost him. So that's my hope for all of these guys is that they can look in the mirror and say the only thing that it cost me was a game. If any, God forbid, if any of their loved ones get sick or their children get sick or something like that, and they got to go through that, that's a whole different story, and that's something that I don't wish on anybody. So I'm just saying, great points, Randy, but I wanted to add that next one down there too. Again, it's not just about the game; it's about people. Period.
Yeah, sure, true. Hypothetically speaking, though, we could just sign Cam Newton and just see how that works out, right?
Not very well because his arm is gone.
I
Let's be
mean,
real.
honestly, our options right now is simple.
I'd start Calvin Mon before I go to get Cam. Sorry, Cam, you have no more arm, bro. You might as well start picking up golf or something. Oh, get on TV, man. You got a nice smile. People like a bubbly person. Get your personality out there because you playing football. No, my brother, you done. See ya. Bye.
All right, and this Sunday, the Vikings are playing the Bengals. The Vikings lead this series throughout history, 7-6. Are you what are you looking for in this game? in particular? Just like we went through over a lot of stuff, but is there anything like specific that you're looking forward in this first game?
Yeah, I'm looking to see Jefferson and Thielen get into a rhythm. They really haven't gotten into a rhythm. I like to see them getting into the rhythm in the offensive line, opening up some holes for Cook. This really should be not a blowout, but just a simple, take the lead and never look back type of game for the Vikings. Cincinnati's a decent team; they're up and coming, but overall, they don't have the talent to compete at the next level yet. They're getting there. I mean, they can beat you on any given day, any given Sunday, but they should not really be able to be in this game. It should be about a 28-14, 28-17 game, something like that.
I agree. It should be shouldn't be close, but it should win. I'm just looking for them to come out strong. That's what it comes down to. I don't think teams good enough to fall behind in losses, so they need in winnable games. Winnable game to handle business. They want to keep their jobs because point blank, if they don't make the playoffs, everybody's fired.
Everybody.
Fair. That's fair. All right, so it's that time that we do our pick'ems. Results from last week. Randy had 5 correct. Wow.
It's Randy.
Junior had 5 correct, while Pops here, Senior, only had 4.
Oh, yeah,
Randy
okay.
won last week.
All right.
I'm the greatest.
He has that
Oh,
title
that's
today.
okay.
Anyways,
This week,
yes.
you're gonna have to
Anyways,
buy a belt. Show it off.
for our college games for pick'ems, we obviously have the Gophers versus Miami, Ohio.
Mhm.
I'm assuming you both are for Gophers, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
All right, give me one moment. The next game we have is Texas A&M versus Colorado.
I like Texas A&M. I think that they're a really, really good team. I think that Colorado's going to try their best to stay with them, but in the end, I think Texas A&M got too much. I'm going with Texas A&M.
I'm also going to go with Texas A&M, but I think it's going to be a very close game, maybe overtime. We'll shoot out at the end. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be like 14 in overtime. But we shall see. We shall see. Texas A&M to win.
We have Texas versus Arkansas.
Again, Arkansas is a little engine that can't. Oh, suey. But they're playing Texas right now. They're going to try to be the bully on the block. Right now, I think that they will, and it'll be Texas for the win.
I also agree. Texas going to come out strong and show the dominance. And it's a new staff. They want to show how dominant they can be. So, Texas.
Glad to see you guys working together on this pick'ems, making it interesting. Iowa versus Iowa State.
Ooh, now this is that game. Like last week, you had that one game you want to see. This is the game for me I want to see. I like Bryce Hall. I love what Iowa State's going to bring to the field. Watching Iowa play, I was impressed with their defense playing. But again, I didn't think Indiana played very well. So, with that said, I am a homer for the the Gophers and the Big Ten, but I'm going with Iowa State.
Interesting. What about you, Ren?
After like watching highlights and stats and everything from last week, a little disappointed Bryce Hall only putting up 69 yards.
Nice.
I think Iowa's defense is good as what they faced last year. So not last year, but last week. So I don't see Iowa State doing too much more. And I was gonna pull it out like a decent chunk better than Iowa State and control that rivalry.
Right on. And then finally, we have Oregon versus Ohio State.
Alrighty, that's my second game I got on my list. I want to see, and if the Ohio State that showed up in the second half shows up, I think the game's over. It's over by halftime. If the first half Iowa State shows up, then it's going to be a very tight game. If Thibodeau, if his ankle injury got him back out there to play, I think that gives him a better shot at winning. But I think that the Oregon quarterback just doesn't seem ready for prime time yet. I watched him. I watched the highlights. It looked like he was a little bit of a deer in the headlights. So because of that, I'm going to give Ohio State that slight edge, and they're going to go ahead and win this game.
Ohio State wins big. I think it's a blowout. I don't see Oregon competing. I see Ohio State coming out and showing how good they actually are. Because I still think, I think Minnesota just played that well against Ohio State that if it was any other team, I think Ohio State would have dropped 50, 60 points. I think Ohio State is going to be dominant this year, and this game is just going to show it. I see them dropping down on Oregon.
All right. And then off to the NFL games. Of course, we have the Vikings versus Bengals.
Like I said already, 28-14 Vikes. Go Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings 30+ points.
All right. Cowboys versus the Bucks.
Interesting game. I part of my prediction went out the door when they lost that offensive lineman to COVID. That hurt. They really needed him out there. So I'm going to say that Tampa Bay is going to squeak this one out. I think it's going to be something like 34-32. I think both teams are going to score. Everyone likes to talk about defense, but when you got as much talent as both of these teams have on the other side of the ball, Dallas probably got two wide receiver quartet that's as good as any, if not the best in the NFL right now. Ezekiel, well, he does Zeke things, you know what I'm saying? So I think they're going to get their points. But I think Tampa Bay is going to squeak it out because I think that their defense will have one more big play than Dallas can handle.
I think it's going to be close. I think Zeke's going to come out, and even missing their top offensive lineman, I think is going to show the weight loss and do Zeke, Daka do some nice plays, but in the end, I think Bucks defense on top of a smart Tom Brady's too much, and they win by 7 or 10.
All right. Steelers Bills.
Steelers Bills. You know what they say? Never ever allow someone get a taste of victory. And the Buffalo Bills got a taste of victory, and they got a taste of what it's like to be consistent and play hard football. I like everything that they're doing up there in Buffalo. I like the team they put together. And as much as I like Pittsburgh with Tomlinson and Ben, doing that old school throw it over the top thing, I think Buffalo just got too much for them. I think it's Buffalo in a pretty more than likely easier game than people think. I think they might win by 15-20.
Bills dominant. Steelers didn't do enough this offseason. Catch up. Bills win.
All right. Quick and simple. We got the Browns versus the Chiefs.
Browns versus Chiefs. At this point of the season, again, I'm going to have to go with the more prolific offense. People always say the offense, usually has a time to catch up with the defense. But when you have an offense like Kansas City's, their offense already starts at octane level 12. They're just looking for where else they can go. And they just got too much firepower for Cleveland. They can't keep up.
I disagree. I think it's going to be a close game. I think this could potentially be an AFC Championship game down the road. I think Browns are going to come out strong, shock the world, and win by a last-second field goal.
Okay. Bold choice. Then we have the Bears versus the Rams.
Bears are going to get rammed.
I feel like you're waiting all night for that one.
Right? No, LA is, they got Stafford. The offense, Robert Woods, the other young man, that wide receiver, I can't think of his name right now. You remember his name there, Rand?
Cup.
Yeah, Cooper Cup. Higbee at tight end. Just too much. The Bears, they're in a transition, whether they want to admit it or not. Give Justin Fields the keys. Let him get it over. Let this be a learning season for him and get to it. Rams easily.
Yeah,
Do you
Rams
agree?
going to dominate Justin Field. They'll get some play time in the second half because they're trailing by so much. But Stafford's going to show why he's a top 5 quarterback. That's garbage team so long. Have a solid defense. Be able to just throw the ball all around. He's going to love it. And Rams going to win.
We got the Packers versus Saints.
Packers and the Saints. Well, I hate the Packers. Let's just get that clear.
You're a Vikings fan, we know.
Yep, that's right. Day one, baby. So, with that said, though, when you look at that, what could be the outcome of this game, I like the fact that Jameis is starting at quarterback because he does have that throw it downfield mentality. The question is, can any of his wide receivers be there to catch the ball? I don't think the question is whether Jameis will get time to throw it. The question is going to be, can his people get open? I know Green Bay's defensive backfield has gotten a little bit better. They've worked on that. They've been forced to because they were so bad there for a while. And I think because of that, not Aaron Rodgers, offense is going to do what it's going to do, but I think the defense is going to shut down the Saints just enough to pull this game out. Green Bay wins it.
And you, Randy?
Saints aren't going to be the team that we're used to seeing. Saints are going to mightily struggle. Packer, random open catches that make no sense for an 80-yard touchdown is going to happen all over the place. And Rodgers drops like 5 touchdowns.
All right. And then the Monday night game, Ravens versus Raiders.
That's going to be an interesting game. I think it might be closer than people think. I really do like, the Baltimore offense and defense. They're again another team that could easily be in the AFC Championship game. But I think that the Raiders are getting better and better. I like what Gruden's trying to do. I love what they're trying to do on the defensive side of the ball. They've got skilled players on the offensive side of the ball, with the tight end and the running back with Jacobs there, and then the tight end. I can't remember his name, Wallen or
Waller.
Anyway, Waller. I know that's close. With Waller, I actually this might be my pick 'em upset of the week. I think this is my upset. I think the Raiders win.
Okay.
I think it's all going to come down to Le'Veon Bell and the other running back for the Ravens do enough to alleviate pressure off of Lamar Jackson, which I think they do. I think Le'Veon Bell becomes a starter and doesn't get back to like prime Le'Veon Bell, but I think he like inadequate 900,000 yard season, just enough to help the Ravens stay competitive. I think Lamar Jackson's just too good. You saw what happens when he gets taken out and someone else goes in and comes back and can lead a team to victory. He's just too good at the moment, and I think he has enough around him to overcome a little adversity. So Ravens win.
Right.
Can I just say one thing?
Go for it.
Did you say Le'Veon Bell's going to do what? Okay, remember what I told you about Cam Newton? Remember what I told him he need to do? Le'Veon should be right behind him. He is done. He is toast. Butter that boy. Get him out the door. Okay, his game is gone, dude. He has no more game. You heard it here. In case you were wondering why you haven't seen him, it ain't because he can't run the ball. It's because he can't run the ball. Plain and simple. He is done.
We shall see.
Go get it. Go get a desk job, bro. Desk job.
No.
I think he has one good year left in him.
You got more faith in him than I do. I really believe that actually he's one of the few running backs sitting out that year. Actually, I think hurt him. I just think he lost his. I haven't seen the passion. He hasn't played football at that level so long. I don't think you get to turn it on and off. I think it's been turned off, and he's just going for a paycheck personally.
All right. Well, that's the pick'ems.
That's the podcast.
That's the podcast.
Thank you,
And
everybody,
that's
for.
I
But
was gonna say, and that's the stringer truth.
Unfortunately, that is also an accurate statement. Anyways, thank you for listening. I look forward to finding out who's right, who's wrong, who wins the pick'ems next week.
let us know how your pick'ems are looking for last week and this week, and let us know if you think the Gophers are as good as they looked, or if they're just a subpar team.
Also, just tell us how much you hate us. Like, if you don't like the Vikings or the Gophers, let us know. That's fine too. I'm sure some people here would like to argue, right, Dad?
And that's cool. But unless they're Packer fans, then you keep it to yourself.
True.
If you're Packers
True.
fans, come through. The worst fan base in the world, so come through.
Honestly, worst fan base in the world. I'll do a short for this one. Oh, Wisconsin fans in general. Ooh. Anyways, thank you for listening.
Thank you,
Here,
guys.
baby. With the lid. Gotta go.